If you like Stuart Ashens and listen to the Sequelizer podcast, this is the Street Shark show they love to joke on.
Jawsome!
For most of the early 90s, there was no bigger animated show than the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, combining action, adventure, and comedy with a progressing story that ramped up over its 10 years. Other series followed up with this formula. This is where King Arthur and the Knights of Justice tried as Bobat's first attempt. They screwed that up, ending the show in an incomplete state. But the ideas from Knights were taken, mushed together with TMNT's formula, spitting out a series called Street Sharks. And I could say they learned from all those mistakes. Their lack of breathing space when introducing 20 characters in 13 episodes, on top of adding even more in its second season, overloaded that show. Street Sharks took it slow, kept it basic, and built up not one universe but two. In some ways, I would say Street Sharks was better than TMNT. The story revolves around four main characters: John, Clint, Robert Jr., and Coop Bolton. Their father, Dr. Robert Bolton Sr., invented the Gene Slammer, a device that was intended to help in fixing genetic defects. It got reconfigured by Bolton's partner, Luther Paradigm. He wanted to improve humans, but he didn't care who or what he used to do those experiments. So lots of animals and some people were killed or turned into horrible mutations. Paradigm goes pretty far for a series like this, but the way he treats people and his monsters, Paradigm gets under your skin. It's also him messing with your DNA. He's physically changing you, brainwashing you. It's that psychological horror. I don't say this often, but I'd rate Paradigm very high in the good villain category, and he gets even more evil later. When Dr. Bolton tried to stop his experiments, he just injected him with whatever he was doing in that moment, mutating Bolton into this horrible monster. At every chance, Paradigm will betray you. No one is safe around him. Plus, if minions fail him, he'll make new ones and let the failure ones die. So the show does get you to think that characters can die off. It's not the usual reset at the end of each episode. Street Sharks pushed a story pretty good. I remember the day it premiered. It was a Sunday. There were tons of commercials all through the shows that came before it. The show stuck with me for all these years because of how messed up Paradigm gets. He hates Bolton so much, he tricks his lab assistants, Lena Mack and Benz, to get Bolton's four sons to Fission City's nuclear power plant and use them as guinea pigs. The show's set in the future, and most of the Bolton sons are intelligent, so them being asked to a nuclear power plant, I can buy it. The weakest part of the series, though, is Bolton's sons as humans. They're only used during the first episode. We really don't get much past. John and Clint are the smart ones. Robert Jr. loves rollerblades, and Coop plays football. So when the boys reach the plant, thank God they're not stupid and figure it's a trap. Thanks to Paradigm stealing Bolton's special watch. Captures them, injects them with shark DNA, and they just die. He thinks the test fails, and he just tosses their bodies away in a levee. Luckily, or maybe not luckily, they live and mutate into sharks. John transforms into Ripster, the great white shark. Clint turns into Jab, a hammerhead shark. Robert Jr. turns into Streaks, a tire shark, with Coop turning into Big Slamoo, a whale shark. They get special skills. Ripster has a form of ESP. He also can eat through steel. Jab can ram things with his head. Streaks just gets better at rollerblading. With Slamoo, he can slam the floor and cause earthquakes. All of them are able to swim in concrete like water. They can also eat almost anything and it's food, but they can also eat regular food. Lucky for them, their intelligence and minds were left intact, so Paradigm wasn't able to control them. The Street Sharks are much like Spider-Man, the drive to protect the people any way they can, but they do accept their new lives much more easier. What I think the best trait is that the brothers work as one. They can come up with plans on the spot and know who should do what and get it done. It's the key difference between the Sharks and the Turtles. They don't fight much between themselves. Another thing I liked about Sharks over TMNT was they had a better use of their friends through the series. Lena and Benz became a part of their team once they realized Paradigm was the one who mutated the Bolton boys, where April O'Neil in TMNT was limited as a TV reporter. But it was also a problem because most of the cast were all smart, so you had Ripster, Jab, Lena, and Benz all competing for that spot. Benz can act childish in some ways and oozes that surfer dude stereotype, but when it comes to his friends and Fission City, he doesn't goof off. He's always ready for a backup plan. I think he works really well because he acts like a surrogate father and a brother at the same time.
Guys? Sorry, Ben.
He also has an advantage of being immune to mutations thanks to a time travel paradox from an alternate future. Lena, she's the most serious of them, but does have a fun side every now and again. I think it's because she feels responsible to what Paradigm did to the sharks. Plus being betrayed personally. She worked with Paradigm, and you could see in the pilot episodes that he hoped he turned her from caring about right and wrong. A lot of her works probably have been used into making the Gene Slammer. If I was her, I'd be like, get this crap off the street. How dare you use our research like this? She mostly stays at the base dealing with all the mutations through the episodes, but Lena also goes undercover whenever Paradigm attempts to get the city to trust a new invention or a plan to stop the sharks. I do think they missed an opportunity with Lena in acting as a connection to Bolton Sr. so that we'd get to know more about the family's past. So the end game was to find their father and reverse their mutations, plus stop Paradigm from using animals and people in his plans. They had to deal with tons of crap, including time travel, Terminator style, other humans being mutated, several Jurassic Park plots, and evil alien dinosaurs. Yeah, they did that. On top of Paradigm always making the street sharks look like the bad guys, either framing them or saying lies to the news. Not everything gets wrapped up in the final season, but it gets a half ending. Is that a term? If you're wondering how Bolton looks as a monster, you're never going to see him. All he really gets to do is help his sons remotely. Their main gear is Ben's main van that loves to change size. Sometimes the back area can hold all 4 sharks, other times it could only hold 2 people. It has a grapple hook and boosters for jumping. But the main transportation they use is their bikes. I have to give them credit for a few things. They try to make the science make sense. The writers love to throw in a few lines here and there to cover plot issues. One example is Paradigm needed you to be injected with the Gene Slammer drug directly. One episode later, he figured out how to make it airborne, and they gave an explanation.
Stronger dosage just needs to be inhaled.
They even give reasons why Benz builds all the gear before the street sharks were even a thing. I also like that they weren't afraid of making fun of themselves.
Thought I saw like some terrible B-movie.
The show can be really cheap at times. In the first episode, there was this horrible editing mistake. The sharks got crushed by a roller coaster. They lift it up, but Streaks goes past Paradigm's goons. A second later, he's holding up the roller coaster with the other guys. And they don't try to hide that they ripped off TMNT.
Pizza?
You could see they had fun on the show.
So, this is where he hid his lab 6 feet under. How appropriate.
You could always spot a few Jaw references, and they also snuck in a triple X building during a car scene once. I'm probably going to get some flack from this, but I thought the 3rd season of Street Sharks was better than TMNT's later seasons. I know TMNT got darker in tone in the later seasons, but TMNT got nearly 200 episodes. It dragged on starting with season 7. I always felt they wasted their villains, Krang and Shredder, didn't use the others more often. Sharks kept Paradigm, but weren't afraid to change up things, literally in some cases, and thank God they didn't screw it up like King Arthur season 2. I need to also highlight the Sharks' other friends, Moby Lick, El Sordo, Rox, and Manta Man. These guys got the world to feel fleshed out and not one-sided. The show makes it real easy to think everyone wants the Sharks dead, but thank God in season 2 and 3 there were people that started trusting them. El Sordo works as a fencing circus performer doing stunts with a smart swordfish named Spike. Paradigm, of course, targets Spike, brainwashing him. El Sordo goes after his friend and got fused together with Spike. At the end of it, Paradigm got screwed, so they stayed in the circus. Jets Taylor was a close friend of the Boltons, wanted to see his friends, and of course Paradigm took advantage. Turned him into Moby Lick. Then tries to brainwash him to get close to the sharks. You'd think Paradigm at this point can't piss you off enough? Then we get this. Rox and his audience is his next target. At a music concert, he attempts to mutate the crowd. He misses the people, but gets Rox. Ironically, he didn't really care. He got changed into a bull shark. He ran with it and played it off as a costume. This is how the show slowly ate away at Paradigm's trust with the people. The series is episodic, but the writers were smart in laying in the side characters so they could do world building. El Sordo ran a circus, which showed that mutations could be a good thing. The Street Sharks were in the audience in the end of the episode, and nothing happened. Rox's show was attacked, and the sharks prevented the people from getting harmed. If this popular rock star has respect for the sharks, they gotta be good people. Moby Lick ended up working at a national park, helping with the environment and the animals. The president also got turned to the side of the street sharks. So eventually other people followed suit, like Dr. Terrence Morton. He saw Paradigm was attempting to use alien DNA he found, intentionally mutating himself with the DNA so that Paradigm couldn't transform the city. This then builds into the final arc with the alien dinosaurs. There was a turning point in season 3 where Paradigm tried to genetically clean the president. The sharks saved the day, so Paradigm's charade finally got exposed. So he was on the run and undercovered alien dinosaurs, Bad Rap, Hax, and Splitter, followed up by the Street Sharks teaming up with the Dino Avengers. This is where the Extreme Dinosaurs, the series that came after this one, first premiered. All of them had different backgrounds, so these aren't the same guys from the series. I'm glad they reworked their origins, because alien dinosaurs that crash landed on Earth, wiping out Earth dinosaurs 65 million years ago, makes no sense. And I was just praising you dealing with plot holes. Also, Dino Avengers? Who came up with that name? The final episode has the alien velociraptors fail, Paradigm gets arrested, and all of the aliens leave Earth. I'm okay with the ending. We got something. My biggest gripe was that Robert Bolton never got seen or teamed up with his sons directly. Overall, the series did a decent job. It blended TMNT, a bit of Batman, and King Arthur good. They told a crazy story about sharks and dinosaurs, but it's nice to see side characters with heart and some character development, choosing whether to go bad or good. If you have a craving for some corny 90s action show, check out Street Sharks. Thanks for checking out the video. Subscribe if you want to see more from me, and if you remember a movie or show that's long been forgotten, good or bad, leave it as a suggestion below. I'm always on the lookout for obscured stuff. I got one question for Mill Creek though. You were doing so good with classic cartoons. Why hasn't there been a DVD release for Extreme Dinosaurs? I had to go buy the German sets.